This man casually lifted his hand slightly. The poop on the ground actually came to life directly. The man was stunned on the spot, only saw the poop walking with an arrogant and domineering posture, swaying and swaggering straight into the home bathroom. Immediately after completing a 720-degree spin in the air, only the splash of water when landing was particularly exaggerated. Taking advantage of the momentum, it flushed itself directly into the sewer. The man was completely dumbfounded on the spot, hurriedly opened the refrigerator and took out the drink treasured for a long time, and found the wine glass that was unused for years. Immediately poured the full drink and took a big gulp to suppress the shock. Turned head and saw the manuscript on the table thrown on the ground. Hurriedly put down the wine in hand and reached out to pick it up. Accidentally knocked over the whole cup of drink with arm. The man's heart hurt instantly. Secretly wished in heart to let the drink all flow back into the bottle. Unexpectedly, an absurd scene happened immediately. The spilled drink actually flowed back into the bottle by itself. The man's facial expression instantly became incredibly shocked. Completely dared not believe that he actually possessed special abilities. As long as he raised his hand and waved gently, whatever he said in his heart could immediately come true. Time turned back a few hours ago. The male lead was just an ordinary school teacher, often late for work, almost fired directly by the leader. The goddess he had a crush on for many years never dared to confess. Even the class he led was the worst in the whole school. At the same time, an alien spaceship stopped in the vast universe. Several strange-looking alien executives discovered the Earth. In their eyes, humans are all lower organisms, planning to directly take action to completely destroy the entire Earth. So several people discussed to choose an Earthling, endow the other party with omnipotent superpowers as they wish. If the chosen person uses the ability to do bad things, they will immediately take action to destroy the entire Earth. Finally, this special test fell on Neil. The set test duration is exactly 10 days. Neil, who knew nothing about this, was riding a bike to work, halfway unfortunately knocked down ruthlessly by a speeding truck. The driver had no intention of stopping at all, directly stepped on the gas and chose to drive away. Just at this moment, that group of strange alien creatures suddenly shot a dazzling beam towards the ground, accurately hit and fell on Neil's palm. At this moment, Neil only thought his palm was accidentally injured, simply did not realize that he already possessed superpowers. Wait for him to limp to the class door. Looking at the messy and noisy scene in the classroom, Neil's heart was full of helplessness and very headache. At noon, eating rice, deskmate casually chatted with him, asked him if he had superpowers, what would he most want to do. Neil didn't think and answered directly off the cuff. The first thing is to destroy his own class directly. As soon as the voice fell, the distant alien spaceship shot a strong light, accompanied by a deafening huge explosion sound. Neil was scared out of his wits on the spot, hurriedly ran all the way to the classroom to check the situation. The scene in front of him directly made him look silly. The whole classroom has been blown up to pieces. After getting off work at night and returning to his own house, saw the poop just pulled by his own dog. So raised his hand and secretly wished for the poop to clean itself up. And so there was that funny scene at the beginning of the video. The poop instantly became spiritual and had its own consciousness. Walked slowly to the toilet side and jumped down. Successfully flushed itself clean. Later, when drinking, accidentally knocked over the cup. Neil then suddenly realized he possessed superpowers. As long as he raised his hand and made a wish, what he said could come true. Remembering the classroom blown up by him unintentionally, he hurriedly waved his hand and secretly wished for all the dead to resurrect. The next second, the morgue directly had a collective corpse fraud. On the spot, scared the duty guard personnel into a panic. Even the dead in the suburban cemetery all broke out of the soil. Looking at the rows of just resurrected people outside the window, scared Neil immediately hurried to change his mouth and withdraw the wish. Time instantly flowed back to 1 second before the explosion happened. From then on, Neil started to wantonly use superpowers. Raised hand to see through the wall and see the goddess he had a crush on downstairs. Can also turn the discipline scattered and messy class into the best class in the whole school reputation. Make the principal, who usually looked down on him everywhere, directly become a die-hard fan chasing him. Since then, Neil went against the current and walked to the peak of life. This day, with nothing to do, he started to brainstorm again. Directly used ability to turn himself into the President of the United States. Not long after, a luxury car stopped in front of him. 2 black-clad bodyguards said nothing and dragged him into the car. Outside the car instantly erupted a fierce gunfight confrontation scene. Neil was scared out of his wits by the scene in front of him. Hurriedly raised his hand and cast a spell to restore himself to his original appearance. At this time, a large truck suddenly rushed out at the intersection ahead. Fortunately reacted in time to leave. Otherwise, life would have to be handed over here. After returning home with soul still unsettled, first gave himself a super handsome, perfect body. body. Daily dressing also no longer needs to be handled personally. The whole set of clothes automatically wears neatly on the body. From then on, lived a comfortable life of reaching out for clothes and opening mouth for food. The dog nearby watched with eyes full of envy. He simply raised his hand and cast a spell again. Let his own dog directly open mouth and speak human language. At night, unable to sleep, Neil raised his hand and made a wish. Let the Catherine he had a crush on for many years fall in love with him die hard. This ambiguous scene was just seen by Catherine's pursuer, the rival. After experiencing a whole night of happiness, the next day Neil told Catherine, confessed that he possessed omnipotent magical superpowers, also promised to arrange a luxury office place for Catherine, and the location is the kind facing the sea with excellent view. Catherine mistakenly thought her lover had mental problems. While patiently giving Neil psychological counseling, Catherine's pursuer directly broke the window and rushed in, immediately took out a gun and threatened Neil on the spot. Only saw Neil calmly raised his hand and waved gently. Furthermore, the gun in the other party's hand instantly fell to the ground. Immediately after, the two parties twisted and fought together on the spot. Seeing the situation was not right, Catherine hurriedly slipped away quietly. Neil was completely provoked and instantly moved real skills. Directly cast a spell to stick the rival firmly on the ceiling. Subsequently controlled the figure to do a handstand flip, head straight down and plunged into the living room flower pot. The rival was now completely stunned in place. In order to show off the power of his super ability, Neil casually waved his palm again lightly. The rival's bosom out of thin air produced a whole million cash. The sudden wealth made the rival look dumbfounded. Having had time to be happy and excited for a moment, Neil raised his hand and cast a spell again. Million cash turned and disappeared out of thin air. The big ups and downs made the rival's mentality completely unbalanced. Taking advantage of the moment when Neil turned around without defense, the rival picked up the flower pot and directly smashed him dizzy. At this time, a crazy idea popped up in the rival's heart. Subsequently found ropes to tie Neil up and control him. The rival held a gun and aimed at Neil's pet dog, forcing Neil, who possesses superpowers, according to the wishes on his own notebook, realized them one by one. Dare to violate a word and end the dog's life on the spot. Forced by no choice, Neil could only nod in agreement helplessly. Subsequently, the rival took out the gag stuffed in Neil's mouth. Looking at the ridiculous wishes on the notebook one by one, Neil was completely stunned. The first wish is to turn into a mountain of gold and silver. Immediately requested, except for himself, everyone in the world grew big ears and duck-webbed feet. Also cast a spell to make all police change into pink uniforms for duty. The bystanders watching couldn't help but burst out laughing. On the other side, Catherine returned to the company to work alone. Accidentally discovered that she really got a promotion and raise. Also allocated a luxurious independent office with excellent view. She then realized that everything Neil said was true, so anxiously turned around to find Neil, but found the house was already messy. She immediately felt a thud in her heart, premonition that something was wrong. And here the rival is immersing himself in the pleasure of manipulating superpowers. Also directly turned Neil into a cross-dressing boss. Soon Catherine hurriedly arrived at Neil's home. The rival saw this and used the dog's life as a threat again, forcing Neil to cast a spell to make Catherine fall in love with him die hard. Otherwise immediately lay hands on the Neil, who couldn't bear the dog getting into trouble, could only compromise again. Can only be forced to satisfy the rival's wishes according to requirements. The next second, Catherine directly actively threw herself in front of the rival. Neil took the opportunity to find a chance to break free from the body bindings. Counterattack, cast a spell to turn the rival into a little dog, and one by one cancelled all the wishes previously realized for the rival. This absurd farce finally came to an end here, but the Catherine aside was full of tangled unhappiness in her heart, always unable to distinguish her feelings for Neil, whether it was forced out by super ability manipulation. Helplessly, Neil had to return to a plain life, restart a simple life accompanying the dog day by day. He also gradually understood that super ability cannot bring him self-satisfactory happiness, so he decided to use this ability to do good deeds. Wished that everyone in the world has endless food to eat. There are no more conflicts and wars between countries. Also cast a spell to turn the problem of global warming. After doing all good deeds, immediately turned on the TV and sat waiting for good news. But the reality ending completely exceeded his prediction. Because the food supply was too sufficient and excessive, the global average weight all skyrocketed, breaking through Sambitjin. As for the originally expected peace, it became even worse. Now countries don't need to find any reason to directly start war. Ridiculous things are far from over. After forcibly reversing global warming, the entire Earth instantly returned to the bone-chilling ice age. Scared, Neil hurriedly raised his hand to take back all the wishes made. He instantly fell into self-denial. Having super ability not only didn't benefit the world, but made it worse and worse. Just when Neil was full of depression and low mood. His own dog suddenly opened his mouth and asked Neil to transfer the super ability to himself. From then on, Neil no longer needs to be troubled by these annoying things. The dog also straight said that in this life he only recognizes him as one master. In the future, he will definitely be obedient and listen to everything from Neil. Neil thought carefully and felt this words indeed made a lot of sense. In outer space, those few strange-looking aliens, after observation, judged that Neil did not pass the ultimate test. Immediately decided to take action to destroy the entire Earth. A destruction laser shot towards the Earth at high speed. At this time, the dog who just inherited the super ability used insane-level operation. The first wish made was, let the alien source of super ability completely disappear. The destruction laser emitted by aliens directly reflected back on the spot. Unexpectedly, the dog inadvertently took action and saved the whole world. Neil, who lost super ability and turned back to ordinary person, gathered courage to confess to Catherine again. And the dog possessing super ability, also accompanied by the rival who turned into a dog and lived a dedicated little life.